Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review. It is the Team News reaction video coming to you live from the Ibrox press room, where Chris is situated at this moment in time. The Rangers team has just dropped, and it's an unchanged 11 from the team that took to the field against St Mirren last week. So I'll just fire up the graphic as if by magic. There we go. I'll run it through, and then we'll have a chat about it. So Rangers lining up with Butland in goal. A back four of Tavernier, Balogun, Suter and Barisic, Lundstrom and Diamande, the two midfielders in the engine room with Cantwell supporting that front three of Silva, Sterling and Cyril Dessers. On the bench for Rangers this afternoon, and welcome return to the matchday squad for Ridvan Yilmaz. He joins Robbie McCrory, Tom Lawrence, Kieran Dowell, Scott Wright, Kamar Roof, Ben Davis, Nico Raskin and Ross McCausland. Chris, your initial thoughts on that team? I think that was pretty much near enough what you predicted, is it not?
I had Ross McCausland starting instead of Fabio Silva. I think it's the only change I had. I didn't think Silva has done enough over these last few weeks to merit a start. I don't think it's a massive surprise that the manager has picked him again. Safe to say we need a big performance from Fabio Silva this afternoon, but we need a big performance from all those players. Now it's obvious that 3 points is a must. But I think even if it's a win today, I think there's going to be a lot of focus on win the performance, but to the margin of victory. Now going to sneak in this 1-0. Yes, it keeps us in it. Yes, it gives us something to go to Parkhead, but it really has to be more emphatic than that from Rangers. We're now starting to the games are running out. The goal difference also is what it is. Celtic added to that yesterday. Rangers need to respond. Unfortunately, they're having to respond against a Kelly side who very well drilled, extremely well organised, got some good players in good form, had a brilliant season under Derek McInnes. So it's not the easiest one to win. It's certainly not going to be the easiest one to try and rack up the goals, but that has to be the ambition for Rangers, because they need a result, need a performance, and it has to be as emphatic as possible here this afternoon.
Yep, the goal difference at -8 at this moment in time. I was having a think about it last night and how Rangers can possibly sort of chew into that goal difference if they've got any chance of winning the league. Let's remember, this is a Kilmarnock team who will be giddy coming to Ibrox. They've just secured the European place for next season. They haven't been beaten in the league since Rangers beat them at Rugby Park. They're a team in form. We all know what Derek McInnes' sides are like. They'll be well drilled, well organised. They'll be difficult to beat, and it's up to Rangers, especially that forward line, to try and break them down. My predicted lineup, I got a bit of heat as ever. I had Scott Wright and Ross McCausland starting on both flanks, and I had Dujon Sterling in the middle of the park in place of John Lundstrom. But yeah, that is what the manager has selected. Good to see Ridvan on the bench once again. For me, Chris, it was a lacklustre and laboured display last week against St Mirren. I fear there's not much invention, there's not much dynamism in that starting 11. And like you say, Rangers not only need to win this game, but we need to get goals here.
It's quite a strange feeling going into this one. I just had the same conversation with a couple of guys in the press room here. Rangers potentially a couple of weeks, just a handful of games away from the title and going on and winning the treble. But I think we see the comments that we get on the show. You can judge the mood of the fans on social media, and the guys that you know, guys that you speak to. There's no real belief that Rangers are actually standing on the edge of something really, really special here. I think one, it's because of the situation that they've put themselves in the back of that Ross County game, the back of that Dundee game. It has made things a lot more difficult for them. And no, still having to go to Parkhead makes it difficult. But I think it's so many of these players have let the fans down time after time. Even just looking at that side there, Tav has been guilty by association. Balogun's part of the side that haven't delivered. Corner Barisic is someone who's come under a huge amount of pressure from the fans. Lundstrom Cantwell falls into that category. Dessers, you think, yes, he scored 20 this season, but what a position Rangers could have been if he'd managed to add a couple onto that tally. So there doesn't really seem to be that sense of belief round about Ibrox or amongst the support right now, which is strange considering the to the situation that Rangers are in, the possibilities that are ahead of them. But I think it probably tells you quite a lot about the fans. They're excited about what could be achieved. But I think they're very realistic about these next couple of weeks as well. They know how difficult it's going to be, none more so than this 90 minutes coming up. So even just seeing the comments coming in on the show here, people not impressed with that starting lineup, not happy with it. But then you look at the bench, there's very, very few options there. With no Cortez, with no Sima, no Danilo, obviously. Certainly middle to front, there's very few things that the manager can actually do that's different. So people may well disagree with that side. I don't think there's many guys in that on that bench who can really go and chat the manager's door and say, I should be in the start 11. Bidvan just back, Lawrence hasn't performed, Dowell injury prone, Wright hasn't contributed, Roof injury prone, Davies miles away, Raskin form not been good. I think Ross McCausland's the only one that's got a shout to say I should be playing today. So I think that sums up where the squad is, and I understand why the fans are perhaps a bit downbeat about the situation. As I say, even though we are just a couple of weeks away from potentially achieving something quite special.
Yeah, James Skeen with the point says we need a performance like the 5-0 against Hearts. I do agree, but in that starting 11 that took on Hearts that day was Ridvan, Oscar, Cortez. I think there might have been one or two others. Injuries killed Rangers this season. There's no doubt about it. I think if we still had a fit Oscar Cortez, if Ridvan wasn't injured for a number of weeks, key matches that he missed, then I think Rangers would be a much healthier position than what they are in now. It's something that has to be addressed in the summer. We cannot have a repeat. But we said that last summer, last season, and it seems to be like deja vu here. Let's get to some of the comments that are coming in. Bluebells are blue, doesn't mince his words. He says, left side is a mess. I can see his point. Listen, Fabio Silva doesn't deserve to start Rangers games at this moment in time. He's so out of form it defies belief. I think you could give him the benefit of the doubt that it's not his natural position there. He's perhaps better suited in a false 9 position more centrally, but he's been played out there, as Chris, you said, a sort of lack of options. I just touched on Oscar Cortez. Abdallah Sima's out. Rangers don't have someone that can occupy that left-hand side, although we did see Ross McCausland come on against St Mirren in that position. I thought the manager might have gone for Ross out there as opposed to Fabio Silva. I keep saying it every week when we're on these videos. We need a big performance from Fabio Silva. With Benfica aside, we just haven't seen it really.
No, I think if you look at his Rangers career as a whole, you'd have to say it's not been good enough. It's been 6 out of 10 stuff, which for a guy who was signed early in the window is a real statement of intent, or someone who comes with big price tag, big reputation, clearly does have a lot of talent, but just hasn't delivered often enough. The numbers, if you judge it purely on that metric, are one thing, not scored enough goals. But I think you look at the general all-round contribution over the last few weeks, nowhere near good enough. You mentioned Benfica. I thought Hibs away, he was really impressive as well.
Yep,
apart from that, certainly in the last couple of weeks, it's just not been there. And someone who a lot of pressure on, Rangers needed him to deliver. When you look at the 3 guys that the manager signed during that January transfer window, Diomande, I think, has been impressive. Diomande, you can see why he was brought in. You can see why Rangers have already committed to the fee. I don't think many people would be upset at him starting. I think he's come in and really looked the part. Cortez sums up Rangers season, comes in, looks bright, ruled out for injury. We're not going to see him again this season. Silva was the one that really had to, given the issues that we had in the final third, Silva was the one that really had to have a big impact. And for me, he's just not. So if he can step up over these last 5 games or so, if he can put in a big performance and help Rangers win emphatically today, he's then got a big chance. And you go to Parkhead, Parkhead winners people that score goals at Parkhead and score winners at Parkhead do live long in the memory. But does he have it in him? Can he go there and thrive in that atmosphere, or does he go there and just go through the motions for an hour and then get replaced by Ross McCausland? I think we probably have a fear which one of those 2 options it's going to end up being next week.
Yeah, I've got my doubts. Listen, it's an unchanged 11 from the team that started at St Mirren, and of course we've got a huge game next Saturday. You confident that team can go to Parkhead, not just get a positive result, they need to win the game over there. The reason I had Sterling in the middle of the park in my predicted lineups is because I want to see that midfield at Parkhead next week. I want to see a Diomande and Sterling partnership in there. I think Rangers need energy, legs, physicality in that midfield. John Lundstram, to me, we touched on scar tissue, Chris. He's been part of too many losing Rangers sides over there. I just felt it would give Rangers a bit of a chance if we had Diamandi and Sterling in the middle of the park. The forward line that we just touched on there. Of course, Connor Goldson being out for the rest of the season. You're hoping that Leon Balogun and John Souttar don't pick up any injuries. Ben Davies on the bench, as you touched on, hasn't played for months. So Rangers really teetering on the edge here. Another 1 or 2 injuries, and we're in real disaster zone time.
Again, that's one of the other things that has to be achieved today. We need the 3 points. We need to win by a couple of goals, and we need everyone to come through it. I fear we may be asking for too much for all 3 of those things to come through, but we can but hope. But these are the boxes that Rangers just have to tick right now, because if any of them are not, then it becomes very, very difficult. Win is obviously the most important one. A result and an emphatic victory would be great, but as you say there, Derek, we can't afford any more bodies to drop out, because, as I mentioned, you look at the bench, it's either guys who are out of form or guys who are out of fitness, guys who have not played in a long time, like Ben Davies. If anything was to happen to Souttar or Balogun, touch wood in the desk in the press room here that it doesn't, but if anything does happen to the centre half, see them pitching Ben Davies into Parkhead, as you say, having not played for several weeks. So it's getting to the stage of the squad is very tight, the league is very tight, and Rangers need everything to fall in their favour if the campaign's going to end in possibly in a positive note.
Yeah, George Higgins with the point says, I think goals are irrelevant. The only way we win the league is by winning our games, and Celtic dropping something at Killie. That is it. Yeah, hopefully Derek McInnes can do us a favour, as he has done already when Celtic head over to Rugby Park after the Old Firm game. Just to give you that Kilmarnock side as well, folks, it's lay line up: Dennis, Mayo, Wright, Finlay, and Daba, Armstrong, Donnelly, Polworth, Kennedy, Watkins, and Vassell. So that is how Killie shape up against Rangers this afternoon. We need a win, as Chris says. That's first and foremost paramount, given what Celtic did yesterday. Rangers need to go into that game at Parkhead 3 points behind, and hopefully they eat into the goal difference. Will they rack up a good few? I have my doubts. What we need to have any realistic chance, I think, Chris, is to Rangers to win by upwards of 3+ goals today. Do you think this team can do it?
There's the $1 million question. Is that the first hospital pass of the day? I think a lot depends on how they start. I think they've been notoriously slow starters over the last couple of weeks. And you think back to the Celtic game, obviously stands out. But Ross County game gave up a chance in the first couple of seconds of the game. Same at Dens Park. They haven't got into their stride, haven't really got going. Last weekend against Burn, it was lacklustre stuff throughout the whole 90 minutes almost. So interesting to see the reaction from the home fans here. These players owe these fans a performance. They owe them a big result and a big performance. If they can start on the front foot and get Ibrox going, score early on, then anything is possible. But as I mentioned right at the top of the show, Killie, they are no mugs whatsoever. They're a good, well organised, informed side. They'll make it very difficult for Rangers here this afternoon. So I see Aldo there predicting a 5-0. If it is, then great. But I think it's going to be a nervy old afternoon here at Ibrox.
Yeah, James, who's watching from down under, says 7-0, please, Rangers. I admire your optimism, James. Let's hope Rangers can get the win, and a morale-boosting win as well. We want to see a performance today because we do go to Parkhead next week. And I know that Brendan Rodgers with a few interesting comments yesterday saying they're going to have a bit of fun next week. That should rail up what the players should do. However, I'm sure that many of us feel that his words sadly may come true. But go and prove us wrong today, Rangers. Go and get a performance and a victory, and then we can head over across the city with a degree of confidence. Right, that'll do us there, folks. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. As always, we'll have all the usual post-match reaction videos to come, and we'll hear from Philip Clement as always. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Enjoy the game. Hopefully your team wins, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.